The bell above the Grease Spoon diner chimed, a sound Chloe knew well, but the shuffle that followed was different, hesitant and filled with uncertainty. An old man stood in the doorway, a fragile wisp of a person lost inside a tweed jacket far too large for him. His eyes, a pale, washed-out blue, darted around the room as if he were a stranger in a foreign land. He sat in a booth, his hands trembling violently. Chloe's manager, Rick, saw a nuisance, but Chloe felt a cold knot in her stomach. She knew something was deeply wrong. In the corner booth sat the usual storm cloud, for members of the Hells Angels. Their leader, a mountain of a man named Bear, sat with a road map of hard miles etched into his face. They were a fortress of black leather and denim, loud and intimidating. For an hour, the old man sat staring out the window, his coffee untouched. When Rick moved to kick him out, Chloe intercepted, but before she could speak, the old man stood up. The diner fell silent as he shuffled directly toward the bikers. The air grew thick with tension. Chloe's heart hammered against her ribs as she watched the frail man reach Bear's table. In a voice that was barely a whisper, he spoke, "Excuse me, gentlemen, can you tell me where I am?" A younger biker snorted, but a sharp glance from Bear silenced him instantly. Bear wasn't looking at the man's face. He was staring at a tarnished silver wing pin on the man's lapel. "What's your name, soldier?" Bear's voice rumbled, surprisingly devoid of menace. A worn military ID fell to the floor. Arthur Jensen, 82nd Airborne Division. The atmosphere shifted instantly. The tension didn't vanish. It transformed into a protective perimeter. Arthur was lost in time, looking for a millinery shop on Elm Street that had been torn down 50 years ago. Rick hissed at Chloe to call the cops, but she chose a different path. She brought a slice of apple pie and water to the booth. Bear met her eyes, giving a single, imperceptible nod of respect. "Helen's not here right now, Arthur," Bear said gently. "But we'll get you home." The entire diner watched, mesmerized, as the four behemoths escorted the veteran to the door. They wrapped a spare leather jacket around his thin shoulders and placed a helmet on his head. With a roar that shook the windows, the motorcycles disappeared around the corner in a perfect diamond formation. After her shift, Chloe drove to the address Bear had found. She found the Harleys parked outside a small, neglected bungalow with a blue door. The house was a wreck, but it wasn't quiet. Inside, the bikers were already at work. Jax was cleaning a nearly empty fridge, Tiny was fixing the pipes, and Bear was pushing a rusty lawnmower through waist-high grass. Chloe walked up with bags of groceries she'd bought with her tip money. Bear took them, smiling genuinely. "You're all right, Chloe," he said. That day was the beginning of the Lost Commandos. The bikers adopted Arthur Jensen, making it their mission to ensure he was never alone again. They repainted his house, restored his old paratrooper photos, and took him for rides in the sidecar on sunny afternoons. Chloe became part of this makeshift family, sitting on the porch with Arthur as he shared fragmented stories of Normandy and the night sky over Fort Bragg. One evening, Chloe asked Bear, "Why him?" Bear's face tightened. He told her about his own father, a tunnel rat in Vietnam who came back broken. The world and the VA had forgotten him, and he eventually died alone in a state hospital. Bear hadn't even known he was gone until a month later. "We leave no man behind," Bear growled. "That's the code in the club and the service. The world might forget these guys, but not on my watch. Never again." The year spooled out, and Arthur's final chapter was filled with the smell of leather and the sound of deep laughter. The neighborhood's fear of the Hells Angels turned into an abiding respect. Bear even helped Chloe change her own life, hiring her as a bookkeeper for his motorcycle shop and encouraging her to go to college. When she graduated, the entire chapter sat in the front row, a proud, intimidating block of black leather. On Arthur's 96th birthday, the backyard was full. Arthur, wearing his own custom leather vest with his 82nd Airborne patch, raised a cup of juice. "To the men who found me," he said, his voice momentarily clear and strong. Bear clinked his cup against Arthur's, his voice a low, emotional rumble. "To the ones who show us the way." It all started with one lost man asking for help and one waitress who trusted her gut. It was a reminder that the most heroic thing a person can do is to simply pay attention, to see the person everyone else overlooks. Arthur Jensen didn't just find his way back to a house with a blue door. He found a family he never knew he was missing. It gave an old soldier peace and gave a group of outlaws a purpose. It changed a town, and it all happened because someone decided to listen, not just with their ears, but with their heart. If this story touched you, remember that courage and kindness are a language everyone understands, and there is still so much good in the world, often in the places we least expect it.